Okay, so what happened was I kind of shit the bed with my framing when I was down there shooting. So we'll start with the tabletop, and here in a couple of minutes you'll see the shooting footage. This is the Heritage Rough Rider 22, 7.5-inch barrel, 22 long rifle caliber. I never did get the 22 Magnum cylinder for it, but you know, didn't feel like mailing it off. It functions and performs almost exactly like the standard Colt single action Army revolvers. Single action, of course, meaning the only thing the trigger does is drop that hammer. Now, let's show that this is unloaded. 1, 2. Open the loading gate and count with me, folks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 6 chambers, a 13 count, all empty. Now, this does have the odd feature of a hammer block safety. See if we can catch that working. Which prevents the hammer from striking the firing pin there, which is good for what we're going to be doing here in a second. Now, another note, when you are unloading this pistol, 2 clicks, open the loading gate, and then come over here. We have a little plunger. There's a metal rod attached to that plunger. Rotate, and that punches out your empty shells. Wasn't a problem with the old cap and ball revolvers. You either just kept an extra cylinder loaded and ready to go, which pain in the ass to change out, unless it's a brake top revolver wherein you press a button and this whole thing hinges forward. That would come back into style in the late 1800s for a little while, but it was quickly replaced by simpler systems and the swing out cylinder of more modern revolvers. Onto the cylinder itself again, although in a real one you do have to do that first. But anyway, see this little button, press the button, pull out the pin, and the cylinder comes right out. Put it back in place. Press your button in. Make sure you're lined up first. All right. Okay. Now, the human engineering that went into these revolvers is phenomenal. Functionally, they're not much different than their cap and ball counterparts, except that the use of cartridges made things a lot cleaner and easier to fool with. By 1873, and the introduction of the single action Army and the subsequent Peacemaker revolvers, they had it pretty well down. Something I want you to notice as I operate the hammer here, finger in the trigger guard, you see this? That's how these guns were generally used, because notice that? The connection between your thumb and your trigger finger, say I've got it on there, it moves forward naturally on its own. Now I want you to notice this, with just slight pressure, just enough to keep my finger on that trigger. Oh look, it still moved. Now if you were consciously holding that trigger back, it can snap. These things have been known for 1.5 centuries. This is well understood, and anyone that fiddles with firearms, particularly these firearms, say, I don't know, for a movie, Should maybe do some research and know how the damn things work. Huh, weird. See how that happens. You don't touch the trigger. And let's just demonstrate how light that trigger is. Just the slightest amount of pressure. This gun's actually harder to shoot than a lot of the older versions. Of course, that's also why it has safety. This is a lawyered up version. Fine little handgun. It shoots very straight. I like it a lot. Need to put some more white out there on the front sight. There we go. That is a proper sight picture. Which is fine for a larger caliber revolver, as aiming low with it cause it to sort of rise into the target as it's firing. But yeah, I also prefer my latch a little further back. It's a lot easier to manipulate. Good little guns. They're not very expensive. They're about 150 bucks. You know, 200 bucks you get a real fancy one. Sometimes you can catch them for a lot less than that, like 4 and 4.5 inch models, especially. Heritage makes a decent little pistol, and I wouldn't have a problem with this, the Magnum, or even like one of their 32s or 38s. I think they make 32s. There's a million companies that make copies of the Colt Single Action Army. Any of them will work just fine. Anyway, let's get on to the shooting. Now, take the safety off and watch me screw this up. Did I fire 5 shots or did I fire 6? To unload, we come here, 2 clicks, open the gate, push. 2 clicks, open the gate. That little rod is connected to this plunger. And then, as if possessed by OCD from another dimension, we look through the cylinder to make sure it is fucking empty. That safety is goofy. I like the pistol. It shoots straight. It's a fun little gun. Of course, with practice, all of this could be made a lot quicker. And in 45, they don't collect neatly in your hand. It's a handy little gun. It shoots very straight. It's a good garden gun. It's good to have something, snake, you know. I've always been a fan. The human engineering in these is magnificent. Just the general design. It handles well. I mean, ideally, you're supposed to have reins in this hand. And using this, you're all right. The 45 Colt caliber that was selected for use by the U.S. Cavalry was selected for its ability to drop a horse in one shot. So don't let anybody ever tell you they didn't know it really went off. Nobody likes a smart aleck. Now, see if I got any more ammo in my pocket. Yeah. With CB caps, of course, you don't have to work anything that is the length of a 22 long rifle or less and 22 caliber. This gun will fire it. I fired shorts, CB caps, BB caps, longs, and long rifles through this revolver. The only issue I've ever run into is a dirty cylinder and the round sticking. I haven't fooled with this thing in a minute. You can see why a lot of people tended to go for the top break, the ones that break open, revolvers, or they just carried spare cylinders, which isn't the easiest thing to do. Like I said, hard to find proper holsters. And it's a good place to get in if you're looking to learn how to use pistols and how to shoot in general. They're not expensive. You can find them damn near anywhere. And, it beats the shit out of throwing rocks. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Have a good one.